Good morning, ladies. It is Friday morning. Praise the Lord, it's Friday. We made it to Friday. This was our kids' first full week of school since they started. Like the very first week was 3 days, and then the last couple weeks have been 4 days. So this week was our first 5-day week. So it's been a week. But I'm gonna say hi when you hop on. I'm gonna get ready for the day. I dropped my kids off at school and looking like this, so I'm gonna get ready, but I wanted to talk to you guys about adrenal fatigue while I do it. So if you have followed my journey for a while, okay, let's do a quick Reader's Digest background, right? So I've had anxiety and depression since I was little, like my son's age, and in fact my son has it, which is heartbreaking. So I've had anxiety and depression since I was little. When my father beat me. Hi, honey. My father beat my mom and I. Never laid a hand on my brother, but my father beat my mom and I. And then when I was 7, she finally kicked the house, and my parents split up and divorced. Well, I started to mature. Oh no. Can you guys still see me? It's telling me it's not responding. Can you see me? I started to mature really early physically. I started developing breasts at 5. I was in a full bra at 6, and I got my period at 7. So I had anxiety, depression, huge life change with with my parents starting a divorce at 7, and then I matured early physically, which meant hormones were out of whack, right? And all of that your hormones play a role into your anxiety and depression. So fast forward, I developed an eating disorder. I did do anorexia and bulimia, but I was primarily anorexic from junior high through college, because when you develop that fast growing up and you start a period and nobody else is having a period yet, and I was 7.5 when I got my period. It was the summer between my 2nd and 3rd grade year in elementary school. When you're that young, no one else has a period, no one else has boobs, nobody else has curves and hips, and I matured faster than others. So in an effort to try and control, thank you, anxiety, my physical appearance, because I got chubby for a while and then I thinned out, and I got chubby for a while and I thinned out, I developed eating disorders. It was also like the one thing I felt like I could control. I couldn't control hydrate. I couldn't control my parents getting divorced. I couldn't control that I was being beaten. I couldn't control that I had to go to school and had horrid anxiety. I couldn't control what was going on in my life. But the one thing I could control was what went into my mouth. And so that's what I did. And I became obsessive about it. Fast forward to high school. I graduated high school at 17. I was the second youngest in my graduating class. And the following, basically right after that, I started training for a pageant here in my local city and county. I ended up rock bottoming at 82 pounds of skin and bones. 82 pounds. And I was proud of that. That's not normal. But, and this is really hard to talk about, but it's going to lead into what I have to tell you guys today, which is why I'm here today. 82 pounds. I was really sick. I was always cold. I was super frail. My hair was falling out. I was literally pale skin and bones. My diet at the time was 1 4-ounce jar of baby food. That was my food allowance for the day. A bottle of water, and then I would chew gum in between my classes in high school and college to try and get rid of the hunger. Not normal, right? So I hit rock bottom at 82 pounds. My brother looked at me one day and was like, I'm sick and tired of my sister looking like a corpse. I'm sick and tired of you being sick and tired. You're gonna do this the right way. This is crazy. You're gonna kill yourself. And this is crazy. So he pulled me into a local gym here. And I remember standing there looking at my reflection in front of the weights. And I was like, holy fuck, I can't do this. I have no business being here. I'm like watching all these meatheads slam around weights, and I'm seeing all these chicks on the cardio equipment, and I'm like, I have no business being here. First of all, I'm too frail and weak. Second of all, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And third, you really think I'm going to lift weights with all these meatheads and everybody's staring at me because I'm stupid and I'm going to make an ass of myself? I know we've all had those thoughts in a gym. Hence why I became, with my life, what I did. But I'll get into that. So long story short, I started lifting weights. I threw myself into nutrition and learning the ins and outs of what it takes to actually fuel your body properly and how not to exercise compulsively, how to fuel your body to feel good. And in doing this, I went from 82 pounds to 140 pounds at 7% body fat. I'm 5'1". I went from 82 pounds of skin and bone, anorexic, super sick and frail, pale, corpse looking, to 140 solid pounds at 7% body fat. Yes, I lost my period. Yes, I lost my boobs. Yes, I was in killer shape. My mom, who is actually in this group, hated it because she said I looked like a man. But I loved it. What I didn't realize, though, was I had traded one unhealthy addiction for another. So I went from one extreme to the other. So I traded my anorexic need to control into bodybuilding, need to control, because I learned how to manipulate the body properly. I was able to justify that it was okay because it was proper. I was eating properly. I was working out properly. Well, oh man. Can you guys still see me? I keep getting notifications that my Facebook's not working. So long story short, I started bodybuilding. I developed a passion for it. I then went to school and did all of my schooling in my sciences, my exercise sciences, my nutrition. I got my personal training certification. I got my group fitness instructing certification. And I started personal training. I actually ended up getting hired at the Y as a personal trainer. Thank you, darling. And I did that for a long time. My very first client was actually my boss, the guy who hired me. He lost over 100 pounds with me, which was so freaking cool. And I was hooked from there on out. So I've been training for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. I started bodybuilding when I was 18 and got my cert like a year later, 19-ish. And I'll be 31 in November. So I've been doing this a really long time. I started my own women's fitness boot camp. That was really successful. And I threw myself into exercise and eating well, but I could justify it because it was the right way to go. Little did I realize that that control was still an underlying issue. I've had severe anxiety and depression most of my life. I never really had it under control. And then I met my husband. My husband was in the military. It was terrifying having him being in like Iraq and scary places. He came home. We ended up getting pregnant with our son. He was in Afghanistan my whole first pregnancy. I did that alone. And then we had 2 kids less than 2 years apart. And I did a lot of that alone because he was gone for trainings. And we had a lot of really scary stuff happen in those couple of years. So my anxiety peaked. My anxiety just went through the roof. Then I had horrid postpartum depression. All of this to say, that's if you're new to my journey. 2015, my anxiety hit like an all-time high and my depression hit an all-time low. I was then able to, I had a couple coping mechanisms that I teach in my 4-week Fat Loss Academy, and I'll be sharing them in here with you guys. But I did manage, for the first time in my life, I should mention I've been medicated. For the first time in my life, October 2015, I got off of all the medications because I had been medicated for over 15 years for anxiety and depression. And I couldn't tell if I was crazy and needed the meds or if the meds were making me crazy. I told you guys I was going to get ready while I'm doing this, and I'm just chatting, not actually even getting ready. So I couldn't tell if I was crazy and needed the meds or if the meds were making me crazy. So October 2015, I finally got off of all the medications, which meant the rest of the year and into 2016, I had to function without the crutch of medication. So last year was a terrifying year for me because I didn't have a crutch. I didn't have that cushion, you know. It was my brain chemistry was trying to reformulate and get normal, and I had to learn new coping mechanisms because I didn't have the medication. So last year was really the beginning of my self-discovery, and that's hard because you have to pull back layers and you have to open old wounds, but the only way to heal is to open those wounds. And when you open those, your anxiety is going to peak and your depression is going to peak, and it's hard. It's hard and it sucks, so no one wants to do it, but that's the key to healing. So I made a promise to myself at the end of 2016 that 2017 was going to be my year. I was going to hit the ground running. I was going to take the ball and I was going to blow up my business. I was going to stop playing small. I was going to stop trying to control my environment. And I was going to bring joy into my life and try and stay out of this hole. It was going super smooth sailing. I hired 2 business coaches in January. I took off, y'all. I created my 4-week Fat Loss Academy, my 6-week continuing Fat Loss Academy, my live outdoor boot camp blew up. Business was booming. It was incredible. But in all of this, at the end, so we're talking June, just this last June, 2017, I tanked. I was going 24 hours a day, 1,000 miles every day, and my body finally threw on the brakes. So the last couple months, I've been in a really dark place. Here's where adrenal fatigue comes in. I've had warning signs forever and ever and ever. I've always had really bad insomnia. Always. It runs in my family. I'm like exhausted all day. I get into bed and I get like, not a second wind, but I can't sleep. I can't turn it off. Can't turn it off. Severe brain fog, especially once I became a mom. Holy crap. So wanting to sleep all day and then being up all night, severe brain fog, living off of caffeine, reoccurring colds and allergies and ailments that wouldn't go away or would like start to go away and then come back with a vengeance. Always cold, hate the cold, severe anxiety, severe depression, salt cravings or extreme sweet cravings, new allergies. I'm trying to think of anything else. I became really weak. In my workouts, I was starting to lose strength and I was starting to lose power. I ended up having to give up bodybuilding because I physically couldn't keep up with it. I was finding myself getting injured, and I'm very educated in what I do, and I went years and years and years and years heavy bodybuilding in a gym, and I never got injured. So all of a sudden I started finding that I was getting injured. I wasn't recovering well, and I pretty much fell into a black hole. So in all of this, my whole life I've had really severe gut issues, and people have wondered, they've asked me about my gut journey because I've finally started to share it. It was so embarrassing that I couldn't, but I'm finally starting to share it. In all this, I've had really bad gut issues. Your gut is your second brain, okay? So if your gut's not well, your brain's not well. Your entire body's not going to function right. Well, I just chalked it up to, I've had a gazillion tests. I've had lots of ultrasounds and all kinds of tests, and they've always chalked it up to IBS. Well, what I didn't ever realize was that those gut issues were screwing up with my hormones, which are adrenals, and your adrenals are part of what controls your hormones, which controls your anxiety and your depression. So this whole need to control and feeling out of control and not being able to sleep at night and the racing heart and everything feeling out of control is all linked to the biochemistry within your body. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. It's actually what's happening in your gut is going into your brain, which goes into your bloodstream. So just know you're not crazy if you have anxiety and depression. Adrenal fatigue and leaky gut go hand in hand. How did I know I had gut issues? Well, since I was little, I couldn't tolerate certain foods. I was always lactose intolerant. And then the older I got, I couldn't process red meat. I couldn't process fermented foods. I couldn't process, and then I started getting to where I couldn't process carbs. Then I couldn't break down vegetables. I always looked really fit in my arms cut arms, cut legs, cute butt, but I always had to wear loose shirts because I always looked pregnant. My gut was always distended. It was excruciating, is excruciating. I end up doubled over, I can't function. So a couple months ago, a friend of mine who's a holistic integrative healer ran something called quantum biofeedback on me. Biofeedback just means you ask the body a question and you give it time to respond. It's called feedback, biofeedback. What she did specifically was go in and look at what my organs were holding as far as emotions and toxins and heavy metals and all that jazz. Well, it immediately popped up with, and I can put you guys into contact with Kara if you want to have a biofeedback session done. It's one of my tools for getting my anxiety under control. When my anxiety is peaking and I can't get it under control, I have a biofeedback session, and within an hour or two of my session, the anxiety's gone. It's unbelievable, and it stays away for a couple weeks. It's unbelievable. Quantum biofeedback is freaking amazing, and I can put you in contact with the girl that I have. If you are in a very dark depression hole or your anxiety is out of control right now, you need to have a quantum biofeedback session. I swear by it. So in my quantum biofeedback session, she popped up and she said, hey, it's telling me you've got adrenal fatigue. And I'm like, well, that's really common among bodybuilders because you zap your body, you put it through extremes. So I'd always kind of wondered if maybe that's why I had to live off caffeine, and I'd kind of wondered if maybe that's why I was always so tired and had insomnia. But I didn't think much of it. Then she was starting to help me with the pain in my gut because I couldn't function. I literally couldn't get out of bed. The gut pain was so bad. And she said, I think you've got really bad leaky gut, like severe leaky gut and adrenal fatigue, and there's some other stuff going on. Well, I've gone to doctors. I've gone to normal doctors, and doctors know. They don't know. They don't know jack shit. They'll run a blood test on you and tell you everything's fine, but you know deep in your body it's not fine. You're not good. You're not okay. And you feel like you're screaming. You feel like you're being buried under this quicksand and you're screaming at somebody, help me. I'm not right. And they're like, well, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And they're like staring down at you through this quicksand, right? That's how it feels. It feels like you're suffocating and you're alone and you're terrified and nobody gets it and nobody's helping you. And you're screaming, help me. Something's not right, and I can't do this anymore alone. And everybody's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. That was exactly how I felt. So I had this quantum biofeedback session, and then was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, hey, I've got this doctor. Go check him out. It's actually a chiropractor. Go check him out. And I'm like, well, shoot. I'm all out of, I've had back issues and stuff from lifting and being an athlete. So I get in there, and I see him, and he starts muscle testing me. My strength, where I'm weak, where there's imbalances in my body. And he looked at me and he literally says to me in his words, I quote, you are a train wreck. And I started bawling. Like at this point, for years and years and years, I've begged for help and couldn't find anybody. And I finally found this man who looked at me, was willing to give me a chance and said, you're a train wreck. I can help you. So I put my life in this man's hands. He started muscle testing me and he's like, you have severe leaky gut. Your body is not absorbing a single nutrient. I'm like, I could tell you that. You can tell by looking at my gut. You can see I'm fit all over except my stomach. So we started, and I have sessions. I see him once a week now, but I was seeing him up to 3 times a week. We have sessions where he physically, with his hands, manipulates and opens all 3 valves in my stomach, which is excruciating, to try and get things moving. He also muscle stimmed me. And he said, you have severe adrenal fatigue. Severe. He said, if you keep at this, you are going to end up in the hospital within the next couple of weeks. Your body is not functioning. Your hormones, he said, your adrenals are not firing at all. Your adrenal glands are little kind of triangular shaped glands on the top of your kidneys. They help regulate your cortisol, your insulin, your norepinephrine, all of the really major critical hormones in your body. So if you have high or low cortisol, you're going to store fat instead of burn it. And I was finding that I had this weird lower fatty pouch develop in the last year that I didn't have before. Like, yes, as a mom, there's a little bit of a pouch, but this was like all of a sudden I developed a very fatty pouch around my lower abdomen, and I'm always distended, blah, blah, blah. My period all of a sudden got really wonky. So he said, your adrenals are messing with everything. It's the insomnia, it's the anxiety and depression, it's your menstrual cycle, it's your cortisol, it's your insulin. Your entire body is shot right now. So he got me on to, and I can go grab it if you guys want. He put me specifically on an adrenal complex. So for the last couple months, I've been taking 4 of these pills every day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. With adrenal fatigue, you have to eat about every 2 hours because your body is not functioning the way it should be. So if you wait too long and your blood sugar gets too low, you're going to crash and burn. And that's when you're going to start looking for the carbs and the sugar and the coffee and the caffeine. And that's all. You have to go stimulant free, you guys. You have to go stimulant free if you have adrenal fatigue, because those stimulants are just making it worse. So I had to give up stimulants. I had to give up all of my supplements. I had to go specifically on strict vitamins. And he now has me on adrenal complex and stuff to try and heal the lining in my gut. So I went over adrenal fatigue. I'll tell you what leaky gut is. Leaky gut, the best way to describe this is your stomach, your large and small intestines have basically, like, you remember stockings or pantyhose? They basically have like a stocking or pantyhose lining, okay? When you have leaky gut, that pantyhose starts to look more like fishnet stockings, and you end up with these holes, which allows what's called intestinal permeability, which means when I eat food or anything, rather than going from my stomach into my intestines, through my colon, whatever, my body absorbs what it needs to, the rest of it's excreted. When I eat anything, it's going straight into my bloodstream. It's not filtered through my stomach, and it's not being filtered through my intestines. It's hitting my stomach and my intestines and going into my bloodstream. So my body is producing an autoimmune response against those particles because it's trying to break down, because my body's not breaking down food the way it should, because it can't. It's full of holes. So what we're doing is trying to patch those holes and get my adrenals firing again to get my body working properly. So I had been on this adrenal complex for a couple months, and then in the last couple weeks, he said, you're not getting any better, which scares me. Now it's time to work harder on the leaky gut because your body's still not absorbing nutrients. That was a couple weeks ago. I've kept at it. I am on certain supplements, and if you think you have leaky gut or adrenal fatigue, I will show you what I'm on. I will show you how to get it and how to heal it. But as of last night, he said he thinks my adrenals are finally, by the grace of God, starting to heal. And we're still working pretty hard on the leaky gut. So if you think you have adrenal fatigue, you can do a quantum biofeedback session like I did. She will not diagnose you. She's not a doctor. But it will pop up in your feedback if your body is sending the signal that you have it. So she won't diagnose you, but she'll tell you if it pops up. And then you can go to a doctor and have a saliva test done. You can have a blood test done. You can have a muscle stem test done like I did. If you are always bloated, if you're having a hard time breaking down any foods, if you have severe anxiety and depression, let me pull up the exact symptoms for leaky gut. Because I had every single symptom. So, do they have? If you have developed food intolerances, if you have a hard time breaking down certain things, like if you find that all of a sudden you can't break down vegetables, or all of a sudden you're having a hard time breaking down carbs, if you're always bloated, if you're tired, if you have a lot of pain and inflammation in your joints and in your body, I could feel the inflammation in my body. What I would suggest doing is removing the trigger foods that you think are causing it. Start keeping a food log and remove the trigger foods that are triggering you to bloat and triggering you to not digest well. Try removing those and see if you get any better. A good quality probiotic, a good quality digestive enzyme will help. And then if you do have it, I can share with you what I'm doing to heal it. So I don't want to be overwhelming, but adrenal fatigue is serious. It messes with your cortisol. If you find that you are storing fat now as opposed to burning it, you're always tired, you're living off of caffeine, you've got horrid anxiety and depression, you have horrible insomnia, brain fog, those are all signs of adrenal fatigue, which is crazy. There's more people who have adrenal fatigue than we think. It's way more common than we think. So those are all signs and symptoms I had, and I knew I had it, and I knew I was in trouble, and it felt really good to be validated and have a doctor actually say, yes, you're right, and yes, this is what you have. And I finally found somebody who was willing to help me. So if you have anxiety and depression, I want you to know that you're not alone, that it's way more common than you think. And yes, you're going to have really, really, really dark days, but you can choose again. And choose to start giving yourself some grace. Be gentle with yourself. If you wake up and you're having a hard day, accept how you're feeling, and then start doing what you can to pull yourself out of it instead of letting yourself get sucked into the hole. And I'll be sharing, things that I do on the daily in this group. But know that you're not alone and you're not broken. It's very common. But if you have severe anxiety and depression, it means there's something in your body that's not right. People just assume it's just a chemical imbalance in your brain, and it is, but there's something causing it. Adrenal fatigue, leaky gut, possible repressed emotions, and you need therapy. There's usually something biologically speaking within your body that is triggering it. If you do have anxiety and depression, you'll probably notice, like myself, when you're around your cycle, when you start to PMS and then just before you bleed, your anxiety and your depression both peak, like out of control, like you almost can't breathe, your heart's pounding out of your chest, you can't function. That's because it's driven by your hormones, which are driven by your adrenals. So that's also very common for your anxiety and depression to peak when you are nearing your cycle. So that was really entirely much more long-winded than I had anticipated. But hopefully that gives you some background into who I am and why I'm so passionate now about what I do, because I'm walking it firsthand. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're alone, because I've suffered alone in silence for so long because I was embarrassed of where I was at. And I was embarrassed to tell people that I needed help. And I was embarrassed that I felt like, as the trainer and as somebody in the health industry, that I should just have my shit together, and that people looked up to me, and so I felt like I had to hide. But that's not right, and I don't want you to feel like you have to hide. So that is my brief rundown of anxiety, depression, adrenal fatigue, and leaky gut. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to help you or answer questions. I'm an open book, which is part of why I started this group. Just know you're not alone. Know that you're not alone. Okay, so on a quick note, I did actually manage to get my makeup done while I was talking to you, which I didn't think I was going to do. This is apple cider. This is what I wear every day. It's my everyday color. I won't focus. And then bougainvillea gloss. I am taking pre-sales. I do now sell Synogens. So if you peep the files in the group, so that I didn't blow up the group with a gazillion pictures, I'm putting files in there. There's a file of glosses and colors. There's going to be a file for just shadow scents. There's going to be a file just for skincare. I am taking pre-orders. I'm going to do a huge order this weekend. So if you have makeup you're looking for, let me know. If there's a certain color you're looking for, let me know. If you use lip scents, you want to do 3 light, very light layers. And I will post a graphic in the group as to why you do 3 layers. The cool thing is you can do 3 different colors as your layers and make your own custom color. But you do 3 very light layers. You go all in one direction. And then you top it with the gloss and it seals it. So this will stay for 18 hours. I can literally wipe, it won't go anywhere. I'll do a side-by-side test of traditional makeup versus Senegence and you'll be blown away. So that was layer 2. Do you guys have any fun, awesome weekend plans? I'm so tired. I'm going to be working on Senegence stuff and getting a huge order in. I'm so excited to get product because I will go live with demos. I will show you how to pick the right colors for you. I will show you how to apply it. I will show you how to make yourself feel really, really, really good. So let's do layer, that was the 3rd layer. Let it dry just a little bit. So if you think you have leaky gut or adrenal fatigue, pop them in the comments below. I would love to hear it and help you. This stuff's amazing. It doesn't smear, it doesn't go anywhere. It's amazing. Top it, and we are good to go. Yeah, I did it. I actually talked and got ready. I didn't think I was gonna end up getting ready. So, messy bun and getting things done. And it was so nice to talk to you guys. I just wanted to come in and talk to my people and share my journey and be real and raw with you and know that you're not alone. So, ready? Nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Stuff's amazing. Stuff's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm taking pre-orders. Let me know what y'all want. I'm excited. Check the files because I'm going to be updating the files all day today with our products, and I'll also be updating you with what I personally am going to get to try. I will do live unboxings and I will do live demos with stuff that I've never even tried, and we're going to see how it goes. So I'm officially open for business. I'm so excited. I hope you guys have an awesome Friday. I hope you enjoyed learning a little more about adrenal fatigue and leaky gut and hormones and all that good stuff, and my background a little bit. So I love you. Have a great Friday. If you have any questions, let me know. Pop in the group what it is you want. Check the files for all the good stuff. Bye.